England, and in the north, actually, of this country, Christmas wasn't exactly embraced, shall we say. It was outlawed in Boston for quite some time, and in other places was never really lifted up. The church itself considered the one true celebration that we had was Easter. There was rumblings of another season coming into vogue amongst the churches. And guess what it was? I'll take guesses if you really want it. Anybody got a hand? Oh, no, I don't see any hands. Thanksgiving. And in the north, we thought turkeys and Thanksgiving. And after all, we're a farming community, so guess what? You had to eat a lot, so when they did have Christmas, if there was Christmas, it was just celebrated by basically having a meal. And then back to work, because after all, that's the kind of people we were. The celebration of Jesus' birth was important, but it wasn't as important as Easter. Funny thing is, it still isn't. Easter is the main holiday of the church year. But Christmas is a good time. After all, how many people don't want to celebrate the birth of a baby? New life, but things were changing. Things were happening. New immigrants were coming to this country. The economic condition of the country wasn't all that good in 1820. And you got to remember how far back that was and what was going on. The frontier wasn't that far west of here. And that time wasn't just about a decade or so since Thomas Jefferson sent a couple of yahoos out west, Lewis and Clark, to figure out what was out there. New country, new times. Most of us were agricultural, as was this community. We still held a lot of respect for Ithaca. That was the big town. But up here, we also held a lot of connection to Spencer. Interesting times, interesting ways of going about things. Mostly you had to work. Life was not easy. Life was tough. But, you know, it never hurts to take a break once in a while. I think Christmas probably had that message of rebirth, of jubilation, of celebration, even in those days. But it's a long time ago. It was coming into vogue, and one of the reasons it was coming into vogue was because of the immigrants that were coming from Europe. There was also a cultural thing that was going on. You realize that in 1821, there was a poem published down in New York City about Santa Claus and one reindeer. I don't know what happened about that one reindeer. I don't even know why there was a reindeer included. I know by the name of Santa Claus. St. Nicholas, that guy that came from eastern Turkey, was the patron saint of the Dutch who settled New York. So there's Santa Claus, or St. Nicholas, or whatever you want to call it, was kind of an extension of their language. And then in 1823, a man in New York City looked out his back window at Christmas time. He wrote those famous lines that you all remember. It was the night before Christmas, and all through the house. And he had Santa Claus with 8 reindeer. Count them, 8. Now, okay, name them. Come on. No, wait. You gotta name them in order. Oh Lord, the work you said before me is harder than I thought. Donner. Blitzen. Comet. Well, Cupid.
Fix it.
I think it was something like Donner and Blitzen.
Dancer, Prancer.
Comet and Cupid. Dancer and Dancer. There we are. Personally, if I'd have written that poem, it would have been Fred, George, Dalma, Charles. But hey, please count me. Christmas was getting its way into literature. We'll come back with another decade or so. But there was also a hymn, and this is an old hymn, "Oh Come All You Faithful," which is written to a very, very ancient melody, and the words are very good. So would you join together? Sing "Oh Come All You Faithful." Things were going pretty well. There was a little disturbance out in the Texas area. Of course, that was owned by Mexico. But, you know, that would take care of itself. And like I said, immigrants were changing the way we did things. There was a writer in New York City by the name of Thomas Maddox. He was an illustrator, actually, more than a writer. But he did something that changed the course of commercial history. I'll get back to the religious stuff in a second because that's important too. He drew a picture for a magazine in 1843, I believe the year was. I kind of saw it that year, but I don't really recall. For Christmas, it was on the cover of a magazine. It was a jolly, large person, fluffy person, I'll call him, with a red suit and some of those reindeers that he had heard about from that poem back in 1823, and it was such a hit. For the next 10 years, every Christmas edition of that magazine would have an illustration of this jolly fellow named Santa Claus. Santa Claus. Well, that's nice. St. Nicholas was a good man. St. Nicholas obviously was a saint. That's part of his name. He did good things. He gave gifts. He spread the gospel, and that's what Christmas is really about, more than just a guy in a red suit running around breaking into homes and leaving things. Think about that. In those days, they had to have fires. It was December. How could he go down a chimney when there's fire at the bottom? You know what I mean? Or maybe Santa Claus is fireproof. I don't know. The fact of the matter is that there was immigrants coming to this country, and their traditions harken back to the life that was inspired by Jesus Christ. They were Germans. I like them. They're my kin. Way back there. They were coming in and they were bringing strange ideas. They would cut off little pieces of trees and bring them into the house and put fruit on them and give candy to the children to celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ. Now the Dutch did something equally silly in a way. They took stockings and hung them up starting on December 5th, and they would leave candy in them. I hope they washed them first, but who knows? Kids being kids, you know what they'll do. To celebrate their patron saint. The idea of gifts being given spread and was coming into vogue little by little through the 1840s. The idea of decorations. Obviously, decorations are something that people, human people, us right here in front of me, never get into a competition over. Yes, I'll put up one light, I'll put up 2 lights. Next year, I'll put up 4 lights. It grows exponentially until you get to the point where I saw this on YouTube. I couldn't believe it. There was a guy that had a house that was just millions of watts of radiant light, and you could see him from outer space, all these lights. And on the garage door of his next door neighbor, he had spelled out ditto. It's wonderful. Wonderful. But the point was, those German immigrants brought with them the custom of bringing life in the coldness of winter into their homes. It's an incredible metaphor for the life that Jesus Christ brings into the world with his birth. Christ coming into the world was more than just a baby being born in a stable someplace out in the middle of nowhere, in the hill country, in a cave. Jesus Christ is the Son of God. Jesus Christ is the pivotal point in history. It's the focal point. All history comes and goes from that point in that manger. All history before it is a prelude. All history after it is living out God's plan on earth. Slowly but surely, one life at a time. New life, a baby born in a manger. When you think about it, Jesus' birth is just the beginning of that story of redemption that Christ would bring into the world. The story ended 33 some odd years later on a cross. But that's that portion of history with the physical, not the spiritual, and something wonderful happened. It goes on today. It goes on. And it went on even in the 1840s and the 1820s, whenever, when those immigrants remembered. They put those trees in those houses. They lit those lights. They exchanged those gifts with the understanding that underneath it all was God, was Jesus Christ, redeeming, renewing, bringing new life to those who would accept Him. Yeah. Those were good things that they brought. And the trappings of what would happen commercially were already being laid. Remember Santa Claus? He's still out there. He's still out there. There was also Scripture. And that was being read. I'll give you a little hint about some of the practices of those days back, way back. Sunday, you did not do work. You came to church. And then you went home, and I'll qualify this. This is around chores. You farmers know what I mean. Cows got to be milked and fed. Livestock has to be taken care of. But you didn't do anything extra. You did the minimum you could do, and you went in. You had a meal. And you read the Bible. You read whatever you did for leisure in the afternoon. You rested. It was a day of rest. Now Sundays have become a day of commerce, a day of sports. Interesting how history changes. But the good part about history